The only sports talk you need with Jerry Barca.
Can you believe in sports as role models anymore? Should you? Or are you stupid enough for having believed you could have a role model in sports before these two incidents?
Jeff Bradley.
Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Russillo are the two whitest dudes in the world. I mean, frat boys, both of them.
And Bobby Brown.
I think that's the problem with Kobe. He's never really had someone deal with him in the old-fashioned way, which is if you run your mouth a little too much, I'll see you in the locker room.
They're the Killer Bees. You're listening to the Killer Bees.
Met a girl called Lola and I took her back to my place.
We are the Killer Bees. I'm Jerry Barca. I'm sitting here with Jeff Bradley and Bobby Brown. And, you know, we were talking about PEDs and baseball and the fraudulence, the utter fraudulence that America's pastime deals with now. But it's kind of late, it's been all over sports. It's not just in baseball. You know, we have a 7-time world champion at a sport. What did he do a little bit ago?
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
Did you ever blood dope or use blood transfusions to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
And that, of course, is Lance Armstrong with Oprah on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Gentlemen, I mean, I had my Live Strong bracelet. I believed the man recovered from testicular cancer. Where have our sports heroes gone? There's a lost innocence here, right? I mean, right?
Something felt really odd about that interview. It sort of reminded me of the scene where, you know, a husband and a wife are sitting down. They've been married for 20 years, and the husband finally confesses that, you know, yeah, I've been cheating for 19 of those years. And like, duh, like the wife really doesn't know. It was just sort of this duh moment that I had when I heard the interview, and I saw his disposition, his body posture. It wasn't big news. It was almost like, okay, you are telling me what I already know. So for me, it wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't this big disappointment and letdown because I felt like I already knew.
Can you believe in sports as role models anymore? Should you? Or are you stupid enough for having believed you could have a role model in sports before these two incidents?
You know, it's a great question, and as somebody, I spent 14 years for ESPN basically writing hero stories. I mean, this was my job. Profiles on guys where you tried to tell more than what they did on the field, you know, what made them special. And it was always like a gray area because the reality is, if you remember the movie Almost Famous, where they send the young writer out to write about the band, Stillwater, the name of the band, and the guy says, you know, can't you just make us look cool? And as a writer, when you go out to write these magazine features on an athlete, when you show up for ESPN, the magazine, and the cameras come to do the photo shoot and you sit down for the interview, especially with a young athlete who hasn't gotten that big exposure, this is their opportunity to they want to cast themselves as a really cool person. And so when I look back through my notebooks through the years, I do wonder, did I get duped on anything? You know, we probably don't do the due diligence. And I do think that the Teo story, if there's a cautionary tale for journalists, and you could even link it in a weird way to the PED stuff, that I just don't know that superheroes exist anywhere in sports. I think maybe we have superheroes who are fighting in Afghanistan or cops in New York City, firefighters. You know, maybe it's time for us to just focus on what they do on the field, what makes them better than other people on the field, and stop trying to, you know, it goes back to the ABC up close and personal Olympic stories, the backstories.
People don't want the truth anymore, though. You know, Jeff, they don't want the truth. They don't want the whole human being. They don't want the warts and all. Yeah. And it doesn't produce good TV. It doesn't have the women demographic watching it, which is why the Olympics get the ratings they do and they get the money they do. I mean, people simply don't want to deal with it. I mean, the fact that the kids from Sandy Hook sang at the Super Bowl, people thought that was political. Give me a break. Give me a break. This is the reality we live in. Jeff, go ahead, and then we got to hear from B. Brown on this.
I'm trying to tell you really this story quickly, but if you remember the 1998 home run chase between McGwire and Sosa, okay?
That happened? I didn't hear about it.
But when that happened, Life magazine made them like co-men of the year. Okay, so they plan a photo shoot, and the story was going to be linked on, not only did they save baseball and have this amazing summer, but they're great guys too, okay? Because McGwire was an advocate for abused children. And Sosa did all this amazing work in the Dominican, building hospitals and things like that. So there was more to it than that these two guys hit a lot of home runs. So Life magazine plans this photo shoot in Florida, and they send everybody down there, and they agree to both be there for the photo shoot. They call a bunch of kids onto the set because McGwire loves kids. So McGwire shows up on the set. Now, Mark McGwire's a pretty good guy, but he didn't know the kids were going to be there. And he's like, what are these kids doing here? I don't know there were going to be kids here. And Sammy Sosa, great guy, all the good work he does in the Dominican, shows up and, according to somebody I know who was there, instantly starts hitting on the 18-year-old photo assistant who's trying to set up the photo shoot.
Well, I mean, is he wrong for doing that?
So, I mean, this stuff's nothing new. But
we're hearing about, here's the thing, Jeff, we're hearing about that in 2013 from Jeff Bradley. You're not hearing about it as it happens. B. Brown, quick, what are your thoughts on this?
At the end of the day, it is what it is. They can be your role model on the field, on the court, whatever it is, sport that they play. But listen, moms, be a mom. Dads, be a dad. Like, you have to do that. Stop letting cartoons, video games, and athletes be substitutes. You have to do your job.
And that wisdom, while he's a lawyer and he's a smart guy, didn't originate there. It originated from one of the wisest men I've ever heard, Sir Charles himself.
I am not a role model. I'm not paid to be a role model. I am paid to wreak havoc on the basketball court. Parents should be role models. Just because I dunk a basketball doesn't mean I should raise your kids.
Barca, Bradley, Brown. Killer Bees will be right back.
The sexiest, most electrifying, non-playoff playing tight end in America, Rob Gronkowski, made news again. He was out in Vegas, Super Bowl weekend. He was with his boys, his crew. He was dancing naked. Or not naked. I apologize. Not naked. That's just what a lot of people want to see. Maybe even me. I don't know.
Half naked.
Half naked with his boys in Vegas in a club, jumping around, doing wrestling moves, lands on his hurt arm in the wrestling moves. And you know what? Let's be serious. It's okay. Because he's just being Gronk, right? I mean, he's just being Gronk. I'm not the only one of this opinion. Come on. Reputable news organizations have this opinion. Let's hear it.
I think what happens is that now he's become this guy that's so much fun to be that it's hard for him to stop doing it. So
that's a great point.
It's not the level of intelligence here. It's the, I'm going to be out at a club and everybody's expecting this of me now.
I'm going to be Gronk.
Right, and he's really young and he's awesome. He's arguably the best tight end of the league. So you're thinking, why can't I take my shirt off and dance at clubs and have people talk to me and have a great night when I'm in the gym the next day and I'm going to go out there and catch 15 touchdowns?
I'm like, come on, Gronk. Do you have to be so Gronktacular all the time if I'm like the Patriots? That's from ESPN's SVP and Russillo radio show. I mean, he's just Gronktacular, right? I mean, it's like so great to be Gronk. I mean, you feel that way, right, B. Brown?
I'm just going to call it what it is, man. This is just pure racist. I'm just going to throw it out there. There it is. Angry black man throws the race card out there.
Don't talk like Urkel then. Let me hear some angry black man from you.
And then the Gronk is the source of all my anger because, all right, so the Gronk, the fact that we're calling him the Gronk and now that he's considered the Hugh Hefner of football just is problematic to me because if you substitute any of the the people who have been in the headlights that happen to be the headlines happen to be a little darker. Let's go with Pac-Man Jones, because the scenario is very similar. You're in a club, you're with your boys, and there's half naked. In his
Wait
case,
a second.
fully naked women.
Pac-Man Jones was being really black about it.
He was being really.
He was being a little too black for my tastes on that.
He had a great nickname, all the same things. But people looked at him as though he was the dumbest person ever, not the coolest person ever, because why would you put yourself in that situation? And he was a repeat offender. All of these things fit the description of Gronk at this point, but yet and still, he's the media darling. He is literally becoming the Hugh Hefner of the NFL.
Wow. I got to have Pops, the professor himself, Jeff Bradley, weigh in on this.
Dumbest stories ever.
Really?
Cell phone camera stories. If there had been cell phone cameras, even when I was in college, a lot of us would have looked like fools. Stupid. The whole thing's stupid. Pac-Man, Gronk, have fun.
Have fun.
I
But
like
do
that.
you agree that there's an inequity in how these things get played out racially?
Yeah. I think, well, look.
You're taking his side? Bro,
Look,
what's going on?
Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Russillo are the two whitest dudes in the world. I mean, the frat boys, both of them. So, of course they're going to stand up for a dumb, jacked up white guy who's dancing like an idiot because they do the same thing.
Wow, interesting. I think it's just because Gronk is cool to say, because you feel cooler when you say it, and maybe that's the race thing. Because like I'm white. I don't know if you guys know it, but I'm pretty down. But I am white, and if I say Gronk, I feel cooler. Bob,
pretty fly for a white guy.
That's right. That's right. Now, Bob, if you say Gronk, why don't you try it? See if it makes you feel cooler. Does you feel cooler or do you feel less cool?
I felt less cool. I felt like I was gonna instantly have nothing but techno music in my iPod. Like all the stuff that I had accumulated was just going to be erased, and now everything changed.
If this makes sense, though, B, it's like I think Gronk is being excused because he just looks like an idiot, and it's Belushi in Animal House.
It's the Killer Bees.
It is a very special time here on the Killer Bees. This is Jerry Barca. I'm here with the other Killer Bees, Jeff Bradley and B. Brown. It is the time that we denote, award, bestow something very special. And it's the Man's Man of the Week.
Oh, yeah.
All right? And this week, it is none other than the dullard, Delaware Blue Hen himself, Super Bowl MVP quarterback Joe Flacco.
There we go.
He is the man's man, and it has something to do with what makes a difference. And Flacco is this boring guy with little endorsement, and you thought he would Flacco the Ravens. Almost became like a verb that he got blamed for the team's misfortune of not winning or making the Super Bowl in recent years. Man wins the Super Bowl MVP, and this is what I love about him and his man's man move. He rocks a fleece to his Super Bowl MVP press conference. No Tom Brady. No Esquire style. I am not suiting up for this. I am rocking a fleece. What does he do when he parades through Baltimore? I'm going to wear a boring gray sweatshirt. I'm not even rocking a logo on this.
He also is a free agent.
But when you win a Super Bowl MVP, that makes it cool. It's like a guy who looks like a 3, but has 7 figures in his salary. He becomes a 10 to women.
Even a 13 with 7 figures.
This man, you can be as boring as you want, but when you win the Super Bowl MVP, you are a man's man, and whatever you do becomes that. Even if you wear Raven purple socks on Letterman and come off bland as all bland could be on that. It's awesome. You know why it's awesome? Because he won the MVP and he's a Super Bowl champion. And I don't care if he said, hey, grab Ted Ginn Jr. as he runs up the sidelines. Grab him and tackle him.
I love that.
I don't know what to do.
I love that.
You know what? It's a man's move,
That's
isn't
a
it, B.
man's
Brown?
man. Yeah, that's a man's man. We got a few seconds left here, and if that guy is gonna run up the sideline and try to take this Super Bowl from me, heck with that. I'll tackle him. I like that.
Yes.
That's a man's man move.
Even though the NFL would it would be a penalty and they would award him the touchdown because of something like that.
Not knowing the rules, man's move.
Man's man.
I don't know the rules.
Professor Jeff Bradley.
Is he going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL now?
No. Although I love another man's man move is that he came out and said, "No, I think I'm the best quarterback in football." I like that. From a confidence standpoint, he went skyrocketing towards the end of the year.
All because
pretty
of that
impressive.
Duck he threw against Denver that ended up being the season-saving play.
But
Yeah.
you know what that duck is now? It's a man's throw. That duck
like
is now a
it.
man's man.
Barca, Bradley, and Brown. They're the Killer Bees.